Good morning, good afternoon, I guess, right on time. Obviously, another tough weekend. Game of football. My dad always said half the teams win and half the teams lose every weekend. Always got to keep that in perspective. But our kids are obviously looking forward to a great Notre Dame team this week. We didn't play as good as we'd like to play Saturday on the road against a really, really good Miami football team. I don't think there's any doubt about their athleticism, their size, and obviously the way they're coached. Obviously, we made some mistakes in really all phases, for that matter, and things that hurt you as the game goes on. I really don't feel any different from what I felt like on game day. A couple calls, obviously questionable as far as penalties and those discipline things that drive you nuts as a coach. But we got to do a better job coaching them. There's some disappointing things coaching wise, just things that we know how to do, and it's more of preparation for what you might see, not necessarily what you saw on tape. And I think sometimes you fall into that loophole is this is what they do, and when they do something different, we got to know some of the weaknesses that we have, especially when you're playing with a young guy out there. Voss, being a guy, a new starter, and saw some things. Really, I don't think we practiced enough or emphasized enough, and again, that's on us as coaches when things like that happen. I'll just start off defensively. Saturday, again, solid performance. 3 of Miami's 4 touchdowns were 45 yards or less. We gave up some of those pop passes to, their tight ends up through the middle, which, we work enough. They really ran 4 of them. You guys don't notice the 2 that we stopped. One of them, Cam Bright did a nice job when he was in there. Cam wasn't in there enough just, because he's still a little bit banged up, hopefully by 100% this week. But Cam does it the way you're supposed to, a veteran guy. And Voss is maybe one of the smartest linebackers we have, and it'll never happen to him again. And then we had another one just come through the line of scrimmage, and I think they had some linemen 7 or 8 yards down the field on that second touchdown. That was disappointing to see, an RPO style. Offensively, Joey Owen, I think it was a heck of a first start for him. You didn't know what you're going to get out of him, but was happy with the way he performed overall. Obviously, the fumble, creates one of those short fields for our defense. Another one was on a fake punt that obviously I called, and we thought we had a great thing going as far as that fake goes, and we just don't clean up a block, which I think we can get 10 yards, and obviously you're taking a risk anytime you do that, but we took the risk. We thought it was worth it, and we came up short, and I don't look back and say anything. I don't question the call at all. I want to be aggressive, but I want to give our kids a chance to make plays, and you find out if they're going to make them or not, and then you move on. But offensively, we got to run the football. 22 yards, disappointing there. There's some details that we just haven't cleaned up. I don't think our O-line did a great job of blocking them. And again, give those guys a credit on the other side of the ball. They're an athletic crew that did some things up front. And then special teams, our kicking game, for the most part has been as good as it's been, in the last several years, in my opinion. Our punt team, Kess is continually kicking in the end zone, and then his 4 for 4, which I said after the game, we got to turn 2 of those 4 into touchdowns instead of kicking them, and you kind of go from there. So, but we faced a great Notre Dame team, number 3 in the country, coming into our house, coming to Pittsburgh. We know it's always been a good game. It's a game our kids will look forward to. They're talented across the board. I'll talk offensively, defensively. Haven't watched a lot of special teams at this point, but they are big, strong, and physical. A typical Notre Dame football team. They base offensively out of 2 tight ends. They're going to put their 2 tight ends in. The Trumbull kid, number 24, is a physical, great blocker. Their starter. But really they got 3 tight ends that do a lot of work in there. Obviously run by Ian Book and old Tommy Reese, old former quarterback that I faced several times in the past, is their offensive coordinator, and has really done a nice job, putting things together over on offense, and got into their 4-0, number 3 ranking. Defensively, Clark Lee, an old ACC linebacker coach at Syracuse, does a nice job. He's based out of a 4-3, and again up front they're just very sound across the board. Their safeties are active in the run game like our safeties are, so they make a lot of tackles, and we're gonna have to play our best to get a W on Saturday. Questions?
Pat, last week you had kind of Davis and Joey kind of vying for that job. Do you kind of go in this week knowing Joey's the guy?
Right now I do, but we're gonna go into it like we normally do. We got a lot of confidence in Davis as well. Joey, like I said, loved what I saw. Coach Whipple loved what he saw as well. Again, he's going to be much better that second round. I mean, we missed a couple throws. I love his patience in the pocket. But Davis is only going to get better. He's going to have a better week of practice this week than he had last week. Again, just getting those reps. And he had, you know how it is in a backup now. I mean, first, 5 games of the season, Kenny's taking all those reps. And last week, Kenny didn't take a rep. And then so, those backup quarterbacks, I mean, you see what happened last year with the backup quarterback, with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you see what's the difference when Big Ben's out there all by himself and running the show. The backups don't get many reps, and we probably give them a few more reps than you get when you're in the NFL. But those guys are going to get better every week as we move on, and then we'll see where Kenny is. I mean, we didn't travel Kenny because it was the best thing for him to just rehab and sitting on a plane for 2 hours and swelling and all that stuff was not going to be the best thing for him. So we wanted to bring Captain Pickett with us, but it was the best thing to keep him here, which he made a lot of headway over the weekend instead of standing out that thing for 4 hours during a game. So so we'll see how they practice this week as far as the quarterbacks.
Pat, is that an advantage, you think, to have that, where Joey has to still win the job, he still has to stay sharp, it's good to still have that competition there? Yeah,
I think anytime you have competition at any position, there's some positions we don't have as much competition as we'd like. The D-line, we have a lot of competition going on. Every week it could be a different starter out there. Those guys are competing, and there's guys that can go in and play. You saw Desmond Alexander go ahead and play inside a 3 technique, and he looked good as well as he looked at end. So there's certain positions you have that competition. There's something you don't, some you don't. And really through the first 5 games, I mean, Davis and Joey they were splitting reps with the 2. It's like you're trying to get 3 quarterbacks ready because you're not sure who that guy is. And then last week we were able to kind of see what a practice, full practice with more reps for both of them looked like. And I think the competition is good.
Sorry, I know you've been wanting to run the ball all year, but how much more difficult is it when you've got a new kid back there under center and the defense is thinking, well, they're probably going to try to run the ball to get this kid comfortable? I mean, how much harder is it when you
we obviously, you're kind of breaking up a little bit, so I hope I'm answering the whole question because I think the beginning got muffed out and so did the end there. I don't know if you're on Jerry's house. I don't know if you were Jerry at his house today, but the run game's got to get better. And, I don't think we blocked very well. For the first game, I'd say, we didn't win the line of scrimmage war at all. And we've had some decent games run-wise where I think the 2 previous games we outrushed the opponent. This game we obviously didn't, which was disappointing. But we didn't block them very good up front. We didn't give our tailbacks a whole lot of time. Obviously, Sibley early had some lanes to run through, some lanes that my old butt could probably run through, and he did a nice job at carrying up through there. But the holes closed fast as the game went on, and we didn't do a great job blocking. So I think it'll be a wake up call in that room that we've got to get on them. We've got to block them. And again, it's not going to be an easy task against one of the top run defense in the country. And they're big, they're physical, and they're more, we're more of an attack team. They're more of a read and react up front with their D line, and they're going to make it hard to rush the ball as well. So we're going to have to be really good up front.
Pat, I understand that Notre Dame, was recruiting Jordan Addison as a D-back, and I understand why you want him at wide receiver. Do you think he'd become a go-to wide receiver halfway through his freshman year?
Isn't he already a go-to receiver? I mean, I think we go.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
More times you can target him without 4 DBs covering him. It seemed like a lot of times in that game they weren't pressing him. They pressed everybody else except Jordan as that game went on for whatever reason. But Jordan's a go-to guy right now, and we'll continue to try to get him the ball without wearing him out either. Some other guys got to step up, and we got a lot of confidence in Tayseer and Jared and DJ Turner. So we've got to spread the ball out. Or if you got one guy you're throwing it to all day, you got problems. And Joey has the ability to do that, and so does Davis as far as spreading it out and looking at what they're supposed to coverage-wise.
Coach, you mentioned the problems with the offensive line, and you were talking about how you guys need to do better. What are some things that you identified specifically that they, as a group, they have to do better, or are there specific guys that you're like, hey, this spot has to be better because there's certain guys who are carrying the line, or maybe certain guys who aren't?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about certain guys, but it's just every play it might be one breakdown, but we've got to get more movement up front. We got to stay on blocks. We got to sustain blocks. I think that's a big thing, Chris, is sustaining blocks to give you can be on a guy, but you got to finish the block. And we didn't do a good job finishing. And again, give those other guys on credit. They're being coached on the other side to disengage and get off a block. So good job by them. But we want to be better than that.
Coach, defensively, you talked last week about trying to get a little more rotation at cornerback. How do you feel your staff did this week with that? And what did you see from guys like A.J. Woods, who maybe got a little more time on the field?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any mouth. I'm not sure who's asking the question, but so I apologize for not using your name. But, I was happy with A.J. Woods. He really came in, and I think he took 41 snaps. And, that was, and again, every week it's, you're plugging a hole here or there. And like I said, he had a great week of practice and deserved it. I think he was kind of, the weeks before thinking he wasn't going to get the game and maybe just wasn't motivated. But when we said, hey, listen, you have to, we need you. We got to have three corners. He really stepped up. He had a great tackle on an outside run in space that I thought was outstanding and did a good job in coverage. So he's going to get better every week. I know it's hard to, I know it's hard as a defense. You want to keep your best guys out there as long as you can, but we got to keep them fresh. So I think that rotation at cornerback went well, and I think it's just going to make us better as we move on throughout the rest of the ACC.
Pat, it was 10 penalties and 10 different kinds of penalties. How do you go about coaching that situation up?
We got to do a good job, detail-wise. I mean, I can go through each one of them. And some of them aren't penalties, I can tell you that. But we had a hands to the face we had the hands to the face, and we got called for it. I'm sure you guys go back and watch the tape. I watched the video pretty good. But, it's tough to make all those calls out there, so I'm not whining. But, there's some things that just set us back that you kind of go, should have been 10 penalties. But when we chop a 3 technique, when he comes through, we kind of got a high-low on him. It's like, you don't expect to do that. Those are things it's like you expect freshmen to do stuff like that. So we just got to be cleaner. And we get too close. Shockey is busting his tail down the field, and he just gets too close to the returner the one time. I mean, there's things like that we'll just continue to coach, and it's something different every week. You have a roughing passer one time last week, and then all of a sudden this week, John Morgan's got a chance to take his head off the one time, and he held up, and it was like, those we've got to learn from those mistakes, and we've got to do a better job coaching it and making sure it doesn't happen. But sometimes you don't see it in practice, and some of those 3 technique on the scout team's not screaming through the line of scrimmage and unblocked and or at least not fully blocked, and you hope your tailback's not in that position, but he was. So there's some things that it happens like that. Some of those plays, whether it's running down on a punt team, I thought the DeMar Hamlin kind of a trip up on a again, there's not a better cover guy back there than DeMar Hamlin. He does a great job and had a couple PBUs, but they kind of tripped up feet there. I don't know what happened, but that's how the ball rolls sometimes.
Pat, with Keyshawn Camp not traveling 2 weeks in a row now, I mean, how frustrating is that for him and for you guys, given that, he had that injury last year and, when he's on the field, he's producing.
Yeah, there's, it's obviously frustrating for him. Again, luckily we have some guys in there. I mean, you've seen DeAndre Jules play a lot more football, and he's a baby. I mean, he's just learning what to do in there, and and hopefully he gets better every week. But Keyshawn right now is day by day. I will give you a little bit. I always tell you if somebody's out, I'm going to tell you he's out. Grant Kerrigan will be out for the year with the shoulder, and Nate Temple as well, who was really coming on as a defensive end and got hurt a week ago on the kickoff team and weren't sure what was going to happen with it. But late in the week, they both got a little, fixing of their shoulders. And so we'll lose those 2 guys for the year. And again, the tight end spot's been it's hard to run the ball when you don't have tight ends. And really, Danny Morega's done an outstanding job. I think he's a physical guy, and he gets better every week because he's getting all the reps in practice. So we're a little short on the tight end thing, which, we can't go get a free agent. I wish we could.
And with Wendell Davis and Lucas Kroll, are those guys still in the not season ending yet territory?
Not season right now, but it's taken a while, and we'll see. It's not. I've been told not season ending, so we'll just continue to say our prayers at night before we go to bed, and hope those guys get healthy quick.
Pat, 16 days ago you're undefeated, you're up late, and NC State goes down the field, and now you're 3-3. How do you? And your guys sound visibly frustrated. I mean, they're frustrated because it's not like you're getting blown out. These are small increments. How do you keep a team mentally up when when things sort of shift like that?
Well, you got that 24-hour rule where you got to let it go. And, our guys love to play the game. I think we got great kids. And I think, again, they've come back every time so far. And I don't expect it to be any different. So, just, keeping them locked into what the task at hand is. And again, you got a number 3 team in the country coming into your house. And you're actually going to have some parents that will get to see you in Heinz Field. I know it's not a big crowd, but it's something. And it's better than nothing that we've had for 4 home games or whatever. We've had 3 home games. I don't know what we've had at home, but so that'll be a motivation for our kids. I think just to be able to have their family there and be with their family after a game, and again play for your peoples. I think that's always a big time motivation when your family can come watch you play, and you want to put on a show when that happens.
Pat, if I could ask another question about Jordan, when you're recruiting him, what do you just see in his personality and his mental makeup that made you think he could be a quick learner and a contributor as a freshman?
You never know. We knew he was a talented player, but you don't know about all the I guess the external things about just the way he learns. I mean, you only have so many visits with a prospect, and you don't have a whole lot of time to talk football or get him on the board but it's different guys that, even, Servas on defense and young guys have done it before, but he's just a special kid. He's humble. You never see that guy get too high or get too low. He stays the same, even keel, and, very similar to what Joey Yellen is. I mean, that guy's like this. He can turn the ball over. He's going to come right back and go. And Jordan is the same way. He's just got to continue to do what he's doing and just focus on what his job is. And that's what he's done so far.
Pat, you lamented sort of the lack of competition in some position groups. I'm curious, is the offensive line one of those where you don't maybe have as much competition as you would like, so you can maybe plug guys in when you're not getting the results you want?
Sometimes, and again, maybe we just got to do a better job playing those guys. I mean, I think Matthew Gonsalves is a guy. We saw Owen Drexel a week ago. I wish he'd have got more snaps in there just to get him going. Jake, really had, a couple of days off, and he wasn't as clean as we wanted him to be. And that's tough when you go play a front four like you're going to play in Miami. It's tough when you go play a front four you're going to face this weekend, to not be 100% or practice enough to get really good and be sound and solid inside. But no, offensive line, I mean, we've got some guys that we feel comfortable in, and there's some young guys that, it's one of those things. I mean, you talk about a cohesive group, and, if there's one position, you can rotate receivers and tailbacks. But there's probably, if I had to pick 2 positions you really don't want to rotate too much, is that quarterback position and your offensive line. I mean, those guys get used to playing together, and you like to ride your horse all the way to the end with your 5 hogs. But we've got some guys that can go in and do some things, and you sometimes see it in some of our extra packages. Whether it was Blake Zabovic last week that looked really good during practice with what he was doing, and so there's some young guys that are just going to learn, and you give them roles where they can partake in those certain situations and gain some confidence and give the coaches some confidence in what they're doing as well.
Do you expect Sibley to play a little bit more on Saturday, Pat?
Say that again, Jerry.
Sibley. Do you expect Sibley to get more reps?
I think so. I mean, we'll see how he practices this week. We know that position, the running back position, has been by committee. And he obviously started the game off, and we'll see how he practices this week. But I'm happy with Todd and the way he's, his cuts, the way he's reading stuff, and we'll see. I mean, next week you'll be like, hey, why is he in there too much? Or so we'll see how they practice this week, and we're still looking for guys to step up and make something happen, not only at the line of scrimmage, but as we break into the secondary.
Alan, you had a question. We're going to make you be the final question of the session. Go ahead.
Pat, you've had some pretty notable successes against some top 5 type opponents in your time here. Is there anything you can put to that, whether, outside of X's and O's and personnel, but maybe from a mindset or a motivational standpoint that's allowed you to have some of that success?
You know what? I wish I could tell you I had my magic wand underneath here, but it's not here today. I mean, there's no magic to it. It's getting your guys prepared mentally and physically. That's my job every week. And as I told our guys yesterday, I guess I didn't have you prepared mentally and physically enough to get that win down on the road. And we know an ACC road game is a tough deal. They're never easy. And, we've got to play better on the road. But, the motivation is I hope they're all, self-motivated, intrinsic motivation, if you want to call it, where they're playing for somebody, they're playing for a cause, and they want to put good stuff on tape. And I think that's the biggest motivation, is to go out and win and you be the guy that got things done, structurally, fundamentally, and production wise.
Coach, thank you. And thanks.
Got one more. And one more. He must have a date today or something. Lunch date. Anybody got anything else?
I got one, if you don't mind.
For you, Jerry. Show.
I just wanted to ask you about the two local kids that are starting for Notre Dame, Hainsey and Hines. How are they playing from what you've seen on video?
Really good. Hainsey obviously playing, the right tackle spot, is physical. I think his backup is Josh Lugg, who, has got 5 starts. And I might add this, I didn't say this, but their O-line is about as good as O-line you're going to face. They've got 129 career starts up front. I don't know if I've ever seen 129 combined career starts. So they have a veteran O-line, and that's why they're running it a little bit more. And I'm sure we'll see some RPOs and some of those pop passes somewhere with as talented as their tight ends are on some of the run game, and the run play action pass. So, we'll work our tail off this week and make sure that stuff doesn't happen. But Hainsey's a good football player. Lugg is a good football player. If you look at, Josh Lugg, again, as good as he is, he's backing up over there, which is amazing. And then Heinisch is doing a nice job at the D tackle spot. They rotate a lot of guys up front, but he's a starter. He's tough and physical and smart. He reads blocks well. He's a really good football player that, they got a bunch of 4 and 5 star football players on that team. And, I added up this 129 starts. You guys should add up all the stars they got. But they're deep and physical. And like I said, they're big. I think they're, I look at some of their depth chart and I think they have all their freshmen or maybe their freshman year in high school heights and weights. Cause you always walk out there and say, that guy ain't 6'2", he's 6'4". So I'm going to see if Kelly will give us some exact heights and weights on these guys, because they look bigger than sometimes the numbers tell you.